John Felt here, and this is the weekly weather briefing, April 14th, 2019. Well, we certainly have had a lot of spring weather over the last week and at the time of this briefing, and it looks like we will continue with fairly active weather, but I wouldn't call it necessarily out of the ordinary for the peak of spring. This is the time of year where we have a clash of cold air, cold dry air with warm moist air. Winter and spring are clashing, and we get violent weather and active weather during this period. So over the last week we had a couple areas of enhanced precipitation. Over the lower Mississippi, south central U.S. was one area. Another area was over the northwest Pacific coast and inland at higher elevations. Another area you can't see as much on here, I'll show you the next slide, but this was enhanced precipitation, and this came in the form of snow. Now we had two really strong areas of low pressure over the last week. One produced this area of heavy snow, over 2 feet of snow in spots. Another low developed along this front and it produced severe storms and severe weather over the south central and southeast U.S. If you want to look at the water content of the snow, it looks like it was around 2 or 3 inches, 1 to 3 inches perhaps, in this area. This is the divide between the Missouri on the left and the upper Mississippi, so most of it's on the Missouri, and that's going to melt very quickly this week and affect mainly this reach of the river. I think it's going to attenuate as it comes further downstream because there wasn't enough precipitation further downstream. Over the upper Mississippi, this is a long way to go before it gets down here, so I think again that will attenuate, but there will be definitely some flooding issues near and just downstream of this snow cover. Well, you might recall we had a moderate risk of severe storms yesterday, Saturday, and you can see that we did have a path of severe storms from west or east Texas across Louisiana, Mississippi into Alabama. A lot of these storms are now moving eastward, and they should affect the Masters today with heavy rain and the possibility of severe weather. So at the current time, what we have here is we have very vigorous jet stream. Look at the jet energy here, and that's one reason we had so much severe weather is because very strong jet energy, and jet energy aloft equates to the potential for severe weather, very active weather. So here's this system here, and it's resulting in a dip in the jet stream over the middle U.S. and some colder air that has pushed in that's going to linger into the first part of the week. And this jet energy will be affecting the northeast U.S. as we go through the rest of today and Monday. You can see it here on the surface, the area of low pressure where it was located Sunday morning, moving up towards the northeast. And it is pushing out this moist air here, dew points in the 60s. On Saturday it was located over here. And look at this here, really dry air, dew points in the teens, actually 12 here, in the 20s and the teens. So very dry air, stable air pushing in behind this front. Just to show you over the upper Midwest, from agriculture standpoints, that area in dark green and blue are very soggy soils, and when that snow melts, fields are going to be inundated. Very soggy conditions, so we need some drying and some warm weather in those areas. So because of the active weather over the last couple weeks, we do have very high stream flow at these areas in blue and black. A number of spots are still in flood over the Mississippi and Missouri River drainages. Like I mentioned, I think we're going to have significant melting in this region, so it's going to affect river flows also in this region. And then over here, with all that water working downstream, I think flows are going to stay high for quite some time. Okay, so let's take a look at the forecast here. And what you see as we start off here, this is the beginning, and we have that dip in the jet stream right here in blue. And then as we go over time, you can see it begin to rise here. The jet stream lifts, and we actually have either unshaded or brown. So that looks to me like what we're going to have is we're going to have cooler weather for a bit, and then we're going to moderate near normal, and then we're actually going to get above normal over most of the U.S. So let's see if that's what the temperatures show. There's your blue. And very quickly, large parts of the U.S. above normal. Not so much the Pacific Northwest, but large parts of the rest of the U.S. should be warming up. Hopefully that'll help the upper Midwest dry out a bit. We also want the increased evapotranspiration to help dry out those soils. Now, as far as precipitation this week, we do have one system. It looks very strong again. Middle of the week, perhaps in the east, later in the week, and it looks like a band of rain. It looks like could be some snow up here over the upper Midwest, and then over the south central U.S. Very similar to last week as far as the potential. And I wouldn't be surprised to have another chance for severe storms over the south central U.S. So that's pretty much it this week. We also are going to have an onshore flow here, so enhanced precipitation. So in some ways, in some respects, somewhat similar to last week, but not nearly the potential for snow that we saw last week. Okay, so the 6 to 10 and 8 to 14 day outlooks. I wanted to show you this transition here. By week 2, look at this. Most of the U.S. near or above normal temperatures. Precipitation here. The system that's moving through this week pushes off to the east in the 6 to 10 day period, and it doesn't look like as much action on week 2. So this week, I think our attention needs to be focused in the middle part of the U.S. for the most part. For the midweek, maybe late week heavy rain, and I think that's going to be the big story as we go forward. That's this week's briefing. Have a great week.